Alright, what you're seeing here now is an HP Hewlett-Packard 50G graphing calculator. It is the highest end true RPN calculator that HP ever made. The HP Prime is somewhat of a different beast. Anyway, I purchased this a couple months ago, June 2016, from a seller on Amazon USA, and they assured me that these units are, even though they're refurbished, HP certifies them and they guarantee there's no scratches or anything like that on it. I received the unit, true to their word, no scratches at all, and I hadn't had any problem with it using all of the features until just recently when I found that I could not write to an SD card. I can read, but I cannot write. And what I'll do is I'll show you that. See, in the file manager, which I have here, I have the port 3 SD card selected, and if I try to format, it says, are you sure? Yes, I do. Disk protected. Now if I try to store anything to it, same error. So it thinks that the SD card has its lock switch set to lock, but actually it's not set to lock, it's unlocked. And I verified that the card is good and that it's not the lock setting by flashing the firmware. In the HP forums, I'll put a link below for you, there's something called new RPL, which is a different ROM for this. There's a certain gentleman who is completely rewriting the OS for this calculator. It's still in the alpha stage, but one of the benefits of new RPL is that it does not look at the SD card lock detector. It ignores it. And so I flashed it with new RPL, and sure enough, I could format the card. I could write to the card. So that proved that the detector, the SD card lock switch detector mechanism inside this 50G is defective. Quite unfortunate for me, because I purchased this with the understanding it would not be defective, but well, it is. And so the reason I'm making this video is because the only way to solve it, except for buying a new one, which I don't want to do, is to open it up and see if I can fix it. But HP makes that a little bit challenging because you have to remove this plastic transparent LCD cover, which has very strong two-sided tape all the way around. Tape, mind you, that is so secure that it seals it, that it prevents dust from getting in. And so one of the reasons I didn't want to open it up is because I'm going to have to break that seal. But if I don't do that, there's really no other option to solve the problem. So let's get started. What I have here is a suction cup that borrowed from a friend. I didn't buy it. Obviously he did, though. This is for removing iMac glass. Apple iMac computers, as you know, you can't just easily pull it off. It's magnetically held on. And so there's two of these suction cups that are sold as a set from a variety of sellers. iFixit also sells them. And that will allow you to lock and pull. So I've not tried this yet. What you're seeing here in the video is what I'm doing for the first time, so I don't know how successful it's going to be. But technically speaking, the size is just about perfect for this screen. So let's give it a go. Alright, I heard something. It's coming off. Well, I knew I'd probably break some of the tape off, but so be it. This kind of suction, I guess you could use any suction cup, but this guy is really strong, so Anyway, I was able to get it off. Now we've got 2 Phillips screws here that need to be removed. So I've got a Phillips screwdriver for that. Not too difficult to remove here. Alright, so I don't see any other screws, and I would assume that I need to just try to pry it apart. Perhaps I haven't removed the batteries yet. I'm not sure if I need to do that in order to open the case. Well, doesn't seem very clear what I need to do. So I will remove the SD card and just go ahead and remove the batteries. I don't think there's any screws under here. No. No. No screws where the batteries are. So I guess it needs to be pried. This is the button cell battery that retains the memory once these 4 are removed, but there's no screw under there. So I'm not exactly sure how I need to open it. I got the screws off, but to separate plastics, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There seem to be 2 seams. One seam on the bottom half, and then another seam up here. Well, Okay, using my little plastic tool, I was able to pry and pop off this little cover here, prying it the bottom part, and that's where the 2 screws held it. So I guess we can continue to pry this off. Certainly is on there quite tight. It's on there really good. side is off, but not this side. Ah. Alright. Got wires to deal with. Wires to contend with that are soldered, and go to a capacitor, and wow. Well, how to, well, anyway, we can sort of see the SD card here in this area. Now the SD card has to go in this way with the pads up when you put it in. Which means the lock reader is on this side. And it would be a lot better if I could take this off, but this piezo beeper has its wires soldered there. So, well, I'll desolder it. Even though polarity probably doesn't matter, I will mark the lower wire black and desolder so I can get this out of my way. Well, that's not melting very easy now, is it? Try the top one. That one came off pretty easy, so this one must be a ground plane. Alright, got it. Now we can see a little bit better. And so the SD card goes in this way. Well, alright, I see a little mechanism in here. When it's locked, then this little movable mechanism goes in. And normally it goes in. And when I unlock it, then the little metal mechanism is flat and it doesn't go in. So I thought that might have been broken, but it would appear not. And as you can see, the lock, if I want to lock it, it goes down. So it's moving. Whether it's making contact or not is another matter. And we've got all this shielding here to contend with. Well, this shielding looks taped on. And I see screws Screw down the circuit board. So probably on the other side. Well, it's taped on pretty good. There are a lot of screws there. Ah. Well. Alright, I've got my fluke meter here to do some testing, and when I put the probes together, it will give me a beep. So that's a continuity check, and I see I have no schematic with which to go by, so I'm just taking wild guesses here. There are two pads here that correspond to each of these two resistors here, and these two pins coming out here, and the pin closest this way, the bottommost pin that you see here, which is this pad, is corresponding to that little mechanism that pushes in and pushes out. So if I touch the pad here, it says R66 there. I'll touch it and then touch this, nothing, no beeps. But if I go in, okay, so it's not connected here, it's connected to that little mechanism inside. And this other one, this is R68, I think. The pad, touch that pad. Okay, now it's connected to that metal, but it's not connected to that. And so I touched both pads together and no beep. So they're not connected to each other now. However, if I put in the SD card, then the two pads are connected. So the act of having this card in there is pushing out these metal sliders, and I guess that's shorting against the metal here, and it's making these two connect. That's not really helping me solve the problem because I don't know what it's supposed to do. Well, since I don't really know, I mean, I could remove I could remove this resistor, which would make it an open circuit. Who knows what that will do? Who knows? I wish I had a schematic. So, and the SD card. So that point is now an open circuit. Still got the batteries in, so we'll see what happens now. Format. Well, without that resistor, it doesn't want to format. Now it doesn't show up at all. Well, now it doesn't show up at all. So, I guess that means that resistor is for a different purpose. And now that it's open circuited, it does not detect at all. Well, we can put it back in and make sure it's working right. Solder it back on. Put in the SD card. And test. SD card shows up now. We're able to read it, so I didn't damage anything. Try format. Yes. Error disk protected. Well, of course, I restored it to the way it was. Alright, so it's back working, or well, the way it was before. So, what next? I don't have a schematic, so I'm not sure what's next. I could try removing the other resistor, but again, I don't know what it does. And there are other components here too. Should I remove the other resistor and see what it does? I mean, I can see. Alright, remove it. Who knows? Maybe that will be the magic cure. Never hurts to try. Well, it might hurt to try, but... And at long last, we got him off. Finally, he's off. So, without that guy in place, we got another short. Or not a short, but an open circuit. If I said short circuit before, I should have said open circuit. And put it in. See what happens. Okay, that's not good. My calculator was turned on. File. Well, the SD is there. And it's reading it. So, can I format it? Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Yes. Ah! Wasn't the solution. I honestly need a schematic. I don't know what I'm doing without a schematic. I was hoping that whatever this silly mechanism is one of these two resistors, and well, taking them off one by one doesn't seem to solve anything. I don't really know what to think at this point. If I had a schematic, I could probably take a guess. I'll have to think about it more. Well, I finally found a solution. Not on my own. I was given some assistance from a couple kind people in the HP Museum forums, and one individual in particular opened his 50G and had a meter to probe the same way I did his fully working SD card slot and gave me a frame of reference. And so we figured out that to defeat the SD card locking check, we solder a wire from R67, this point that you see here, to R66, and then that will ignore the lock switch completely, which is fine with me. So for example, I will lock this SD card by pulling the switch down and then put that in the 50G like so. Then we turn it on, go into the file manager, and we can see the SD card. We'll select it, and then I can use format. Am I sure? Yes, I am. And we can see this time it is not giving me an error. It is going ahead and formatting it. When I click OK, no entries. It's completely cleaned and wiped. So even though the card is locked now, it works, and that proves that the jumper wire you just saw works fine. And now it's just a matter of putting the calculator back together again. So now I'm putting the calculator back together. I just need to, this still has two-sided tape affixed to it. Put down this metal shielding back the way it was to the best of my ability here. It's not quite as sticky as it was originally. And now I need to resolder the piezo buzzer, and earlier I had colored one of the wires black to know that that was the lower wire, to help me remember that. And I see my black wire. So I've put the top and bottom case together so I don't see the wires getting crushed inside. You want to make sure this is the reset switch, which you put a paper clip in and push down, so it pushes down on a button that hits the PCB, and you want to make sure that your piezo buzzer wires don't lie in that section. And battery wires, it seems like it should be okay here. And then before I put it back down, on the top here there's these copper covers that come up quite easily. I'm not really, I guess you have to do it pretty fast, putting this guy back on. And I guess we can just start snapping him together. Starting with the bottom. And checking the seam all around. Looks alright, and then check the SD card. Yeah, it goes in and out smoothly. So that seems to be okay then. Now it's just a matter of putting the 2 screws back in. Alright, so now that those are in, before putting on the screen, I need to clean this screen. So I've got a microfiber cloth here, and just go try to get the fingerprints off of it. But even more than fingerprints is the dust, which as soon as you get it off, it seems to come back on. And shielding I'm pushing back up with my fingernail. I don't know if that's visible or not. Trying to see it in different angles in the light. Making sure there's no prints on it. And then I give it a blow brush down. Okay. And my screen, I had already wiped it down a little bit, and seems that the fingerprints are all off of it. Just have to make sure the dust is off of it. None of it blew on here. Can't see anything, so hopefully it's okay. And hopefully this tape will make it go back on too. So it looks like I got a speck of dust under there. I don't know if I want to take it off again or not, just for that. Turn it on, take a look. Wow. A little speck. I guess I'll take care of it. So we'll get our trusty iMac glass remover suction cup. Yeah, never fails. Stinking piece of dust. I guess I got it. This time it seems to be dust free. Oh goody. Pulling it off too many times, I'm kind of worried I'm going to break it one time or the tape won't go back on. Alright. So here she is. So we'll put the SD card back in. To show you again, turn on the calculator here. Go to File Manager. And choose the SD card, format it again. Yes. And it formatted. And we can see it's empty there. So whenever you reset the calculator, take out all the batteries, including the button cell memory battery. It resets it to silly algebraic mode, which is not why you would use an HP calculator. We need to put that back to the good mode, which is called RPN. There we go. Boom. Now it's a usable calculator again. Alright, we can do a test here. Just test storing something on the SD card. Put 3 on the stack. And then we're going to put a couple of colons here. We're going to save it to port 3, which is the SD card. And we need to give it a name. So I'll just do something quick here and call it A. And then put that on the stack. And then we can store that with STO. When we do that, it's gone. And to confirm that it's stored, we go back to Files. We go up to SD card and click OK. And we can see our integer there. And if we do View, we can see 3. Beautiful. So I can format the card. I can store things on it. And if I want to delete that off the card here, I can say Purge. And now it's gone. So it's all back in working order again. So if you have a problem with your SD card, then this video should get you up and running. Thanks again to Vtile at the HP Museum forums and also to Claudio, both of whom gave me some advice during this troubleshooting time that led me to a solution. Thank you, and thank you for watching.